Good evening, everyone. It is once again Ted the Speed Learner. I am actually running a live stream right now, and that's why you're seeing me at an angle. But we are here tonight to review the movie Home Alone with Macaulay Culkin, and we all know how famous that movie is, and you're actually going to enjoy this review. Now, the thing is, before we even get started here, if you are a regular viewer on my channel, if you're even seeing me for the very first time, the first thing I'd like for you to do is to look down here in the comments below. You're going to see a couple of links. I do actually, from time to time, post on my community tab. YouTube has community tabs for those that have over 1,000 subscribers. And if you don't know how to read those posts from your smartphone, you can check out the video right down here. There'll be a link there'll be an actual link or a hyperlink in the comments below. Also, many of my videos, including this one right here, will actually have a card. They're called YouTube cards. It's going to be on the upper right corner, or in this case it'd be this corner, okay? It would be in this corner of the screen. It's going to be on the upper right, and when you click it, it takes you to a related video, or supposed to. On my channel it does, but for other channels, not always. So, if you will click on that, now you say, well, I don't actually see it. I'm watching your video on a smartphone. I didn't see your card. Alright, if you'll look down the description below, there is a video that will tell you how to see those YouTube cards from your smartphone. It tells you all about it. And I will have a link down there, and you can click it, and boom, there you go. Alright, overall, I did like the movie. It was hilarious. It was a wonderful movie. But for those who I'm teaching now, remember, I run a learning channel here, and I want people to learn how to observe things. And one of the things I want them to observe is the kind of stuff I'm going to discuss in this movie. If you are more observant about movies like this, you'll be more observant in life as well. And that's what really counts, especially if you're trying to get a job. Okay? Now, yes, I grant you, there's a lot of stuff in Home Alone that's greatly exaggerated. It needs to be greatly exaggerated. It makes it more fun. However, when you're doing a movie like this, you have to have a certain amount of realism. And some of the things I found in this movie just aren't as realistic as they ought to be. So I'm going to go ahead and go through this with you guys. I am actually said I'm running a live stream right now. I just saw that a second person showed up to my live stream. Whoever you are, let me know who you are, because I don't know who you are. Alright. Anyway, as they fill in and start watching this particular video, I'm going to go ahead and... Now, if you are watching this right now, I want you to take the Home Alone movie, whether you are actually watching this on your Roku device or Amazon Fire Stick or Xfinity Flex, or even if you got the DVD, watch it on your screen, and as you're doing so, listen to me as I ask the following questions. Remember, in this particular case, it's not about that they did anything particularly bad, it's just that some of this stuff was not that realistic. And you have to have, even in a good comedy, you've got to have certain amounts of realism or it won't work. And this is the kind of stuff that really didn't work for me. Okay, so it's not that I didn't like the movie, I loved the movie. But it's just there are certain things that needs to be a tad more realistic. Okay? Now, question number one. Someone actually let a police officer into their house without checking their identification or conversing with them. I mean, who would do that? Even a young kid wouldn't do that. That's not very realistic. And none of the people, adults and kids alike, even noticed the cop in the house. Really. Not very realistic. Okay? And who is Kevin's mom talking to? At the beginning of the movie, she's holding up her phone. She's talking to somebody. Who is she talking to? That'd be interesting to know. What movie were these big kids actually watching? That would be kind of interesting. I mean, why would Kevin McAllister not be allowed to watch a movie that the older kids were watching? I'd like to know what movie that was. Wouldn't you? And Kevin's dad didn't take the time before taking this trip to actually buy a electronic adapter for whatever heck he had. Really. And at Kevin's age, even if he had to have a little bit of help with the packing of his suitcase, nobody even told him. Maybe he actually wrote down a list of things. He's 8 years old. He could actually read that list. I promise you that. By the time I was 8 years old, I could read a list. I promise you. You're telling me that nobody wrote a list down and said, hey, Kevin, follow this list, and then check his bag later to make sure that he followed the list the way he was supposed to? You're telling me that? Really? Okay. Now, the pizza delivery guy was driving that fast on ice. Okay? And he didn't collide with another car or with a light pole or anything. Right. That's kind of unbelievable. Okay? And he didn't strike any pedestrians either. Right. Okay? And don't tell me, even on an ice-cold day, that maybe somebody's trying to decorate their house or something. They could be still outside. Just because they're not taking a long walk doesn't mean they can't be outside. Shoot, there's actually homeless people that actually walk outside in the cold. Even in that kind of a neighborhood, you might find one or two homeless people walking down the sidewalk. Especially in Chicago, if I remember where the movie was set. Yeah, right. And you're telling me in a suburban neighborhood in Chicago, a major metropolitan area, you're telling me that the electric company wouldn't make a special effort to trim the trees so they wouldn't cause a power failure? Right. Now, another thing I have to ask at this point is about the clocks themselves. I totally understand that a lot of the people in this house would have used electronic clocks. Hey, that happens, okay? Kids are modern these days. A lot of them use electronic clocks. The parents certainly would have bought into this. They probably wouldn't, First question is, you're telling me not a single one of those electronic clocks had a battery backup of any kind? Really? And what about the kid that was more scientific? Let me tell you something. Maybe he could have collected clocks or something like that. Who knows? But you're telling me that not one kid nor any adult had a manual clock. Not one of them? That's unbelievable. Even in the 80s, that would have been unbelievable. Shoot, I had manual and electric clocks. I had them both. So it is entirely possible at least one of them would have had a manual clock. Okay, that's something I wanted to establish right there. Now, why would a kid from across the street be visiting the McAllister house as they are trying to get into those vans? Why? That didn't make any sense. And you're telling me, now I know I used to be a kid myself, and I tell you what, I used to wake up awful early in the morning. You're telling me Kevin McAllister, one of the smartest kids. I see Danny Watts is here. Hello there, Danny Watts. Glad to have you. Anyway, back to the review. You're telling me that Kevin McAllister, being 8 years old, was the first person that woke up in that house. Secondly, as you watch through the movie, that Kevin McAllister not only was able to hear the police officers when they knocked on the door, but he was able to hear all kinds of things while still in his house. And you're telling me that he did not hear the commotion going on downstairs as they were trying to get going for the trip. Really? I ain't buying that. A lot of things I'll buy in this movie. That isn't one of them. Okay. Oh, and every single member of this family, outside of Kevin, actually made it to the airplane on time. Barely, but on time. Are you kidding me? There wasn't a single thing that rush hour traffic, crowded airport, it's Christmas time. Are you kidding me? No, that's too unbelievable. And why didn't they just schedule a later flight? Why did they have to pick that time? I would have scheduled a later flight, honestly. Now, as we know, Kevin McAllister had BBs. Really? 8 years old, he has BBs? Really? Mm-hmm. And what book is Kevin's dad reading on the airplane? Mm-hmm. And nobody stays home on Christmas? I know that probably several of them left, but all of them? I don't believe that. And Kevin wasn't seriously hurt when he fell off the bookshelf. Remember the bookshelf collapsed, he fell down? You're telling me Kevin wasn't seriously hurt? I don't believe that. Now, later in the film, you see that Kevin McAllister not only had a ladder, I don't know whether it was in the house or the garage or whatever, but he was very able to use it. Why didn't he use it to climb up to the top of the bookshelf? That doesn't make any sense. Alright. And I see we have a third person in our live stream. Hello, whoever you are, please let me know who you are. And Kevin can't read? Really? I mean, think about it. He's buying a toothbrush. How would he even know what a toothbrush is? Except maybe he looked at it and he just guessed it was a toothbrush. I'm telling you, Kevin could read. And if he could read that was a toothbrush, he could read to see if it was approved by the American Dental Association. He could have figured that out, even at 8 years old. And you know how smart he was because you watched the rest of the movie. This kid was smart. So he could read. I mean, how else did he buy the groceries? This kid could read. So, that doesn't make any sense. And the clerk didn't see the expression on Kevin's face and immediately realized that the kid was frightened half to death. Really? I don't buy that. Oh, and Kevin, in his race to get out of the store and to get back home, didn't drop the toothbrush somewhere? I don't believe that. Now, here's another one I don't believe. Kevin's carrying the groceries home. Okay, we'll get into that a little bit later. Kevin's carrying the groceries home. The bags break. How in the heck did he get all the groceries home? What did he do, make 3 or 4 trips? Shoot, as soon as he left, they could have picked up the groceries and disappeared with them. How was he going to get all of them home? What did he do, go to some neighbor's house and they just happened to be there and he stored it in their neighbor's house until he could get back and get the rest of them? Or ask the neighbor for more bags? Remember, everybody's supposed to be leaving for Christmas. Yeah. We'll get into that a little bit later. And the water company didn't investigate the excessive water usage. Really? Not buying it. And Marv, being so ticked off at Harry for turning on the water like that, didn't go back in the house and shut the water off? Right. And Kevin was able to disguise himself that quickly? I don't buy that. Remember, he disguised himself at the church. Yeah, right. He did it that quick. Quick kid, but not that quick. And where did Kevin get the mannequins? Well, they have a whole bunch of mannequins in the basement of his house? Even if they did, how could he have gotten them upstairs to do what he did? That required a very sophisticated pulley system. Where do you get the pulley system, huh? I'd like to know that. When Kevin slid the money on the pizza box, the receipt was not on the box. Then it is? Boom, poof. Yeah, Right. Now, I know that Kevin's brother, Buzz, had some money. No question about it. I'm not doubting that. But you're telling me that Buzz had that much money to give to the pizza guy and then later on buy groceries as well. Where's Kevin getting all this money? Now, you're telling me it took 2 days for Kevin's mom to persuade anybody to give her tickets so she could get back home. Right. Not buying it. And Kevin actually walked all the way to the grocery store. Yeah. Okay. Kevin has a ladder. He obviously knows how to use it. And that was back with the bookshelf thing. Yeah, right. Okay. If the singing in the church is that loud, Kevin should have noticed it right away. Notice he was about ready to walk away from the church and then he hears the singing? Right. And Kevin knows how to use a blowtorch. And he knows how to use tar. And you remember that little barbecue thing? Yeah, and Kevin's dad just leaves that stuff out. Now, in the summertime, that might be possible, but in the wintertime, he just leaves it out where Kevin can get a hold of any of it? Right. Well, he just thinks Kevin can't figure out how to use it? No. Just no. That just would not happen. Now, Kevin has fixed a meal for himself. He's getting ready to eat it. He knows it's 9 o'clock. The thieves are getting ready to come in. He sets his utensils down and he defeats the thieves. Did he, after defeating the thieves, actually walk back and actually eat the meal? I'd love to know that. Otherwise, it's a meal wasted. Now, neither Marv nor Harry saw the ice on the steps. Right. That's a well-lit house. Now, Harry might have had a little more problem seeing the ice than Marv, but that front area was well-lit. He could have seen that ice in an instant. Right. And even if he hadn't seen it, let's just face it, people. It's cold, it's icy, it's snowy. Wouldn't you try to take a little extra precautions walking up the steps? Just march right in. Right, I don't think so. No. Okay. Now, if I get the two names mixed up or whatever, let me know. Harry. No, maybe it's Marv. I don't know. I always get these two names mixed up. It must be Marv. Okay. Well, that's right. Okay. It was Marv. Right. It was Marv that actually saw the iron coming down. If I remember right. If I get any of this wrong, please let me know in the comments. But I think it was Marv that actually was getting ready to get hit with the iron. As soon as he pulled on that chain, he looked up. He saw that iron coming. You're telling me he didn't move out of the way? Right. I know that thing was falling pretty fast, but you're telling me he didn't move out of the way? And Harry did not notice the red glowing handle on the door? I mean, that thing was glowing red hot. He didn't even notice that? Sure. Now, think about it. Marv's already had to deal with the ice. He had to deal with the iron. And you're telling me after all that, he wouldn't become more observant? He even saw the tar. You're telling me he didn't see that nail that far up? Are you kidding me? And why would Kevin stick the nail that far up? He would want it to be more subtle so that the guy wouldn't see it. Why stick it that far? He didn't have to. Just simply stick it a little bit up. That would have been enough. He would have achieved the effect without sticking it all the way up there. He didn't have to mutilate the guy. Okay? Now, Marv tries to climb in the window. Okay? Fine. He had already dealt with the nail. He didn't observe all the ornaments. Wrong. I don't think so. Neither Marv nor Harry suffered a back injury. Okay? Now, remember, they had already been hit with the paint cans. Fine. They didn't suffer any back injury? Really? I don't think so. The basement is entirely flooded, but there's still electricity in the house. I don't think so. Are you kidding me? And the old man, after defeating these two thieves, didn't turn around and turn off the water. Right. Now here's the last one. Finally, they've caught the thieves. The police know that this water is running, and you don't see the water trucks immediately coming out there to shut off all the water. Why didn't the police shut off the water? Really? Do you now see why some of this was just a little too unrealistic? You have to have a certain amount of realism for a movie to work, and this was just way over the top. I know the movie was supposed to be over the top, and that's fine, but I let a lot of it go because I figured, you know, that was kind of over the top. But some things you just can't let go, and those are the things I can't let go. That's just too stupid. There's a level of stupidity in this movie, and it's great, and it works, and it's funny, and I'm thrilled with it. But that's just too stupid. So I'm going to give this movie a B+ because it really was that good. But there are some things that just aren't that realistic. All right. So I want to thank you very much for watching this particular presentation. I will tell you more in a future video, so I'd like for you to stay tuned.